Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Padawan Unlimited channel. Originally a podcast, now both. Today, I'm excited to bring you a deck that I have been cooking up for a little bit. You know me at this point. I like to really go off meta. Yeah, you're pretty much never going to see me do Django Tarkentown or play Boba Fett when it first came out. I like to build decks that are fun. You can probably pull some wins, and that the mechanics are sound, right? These are mechanics that when you're building other decks, you should, best practice or better practice, probably think about. Um, but if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to adjust my way of thinking to whatever you think that competitive scene might approve of more. So anyway, today I've seen a lot of Quinlan Voss, Tarkentown. I've seen Quinlan Voss like Green ECL, right? Coming out there, but I thought I'd give my hand at a Quinlan Voss double yellow package. I've been playing this for a little bit. With I don't think this is going to be like that PQ winner, right? But I think if you go to a store showdown with this, you might surprise people. With it, because it plays very similarly to a couple other like double yellow decks. Uh, but it has its own, Quinlan Voss kind of flavor to it. I've had a lot of fun building this deck, and I've also had a lot of fun playing it, even though I might lose a couple games. So let's get into it. So if you're unfamiliar with Quinlan Voss at this point, let me just refresh you because not everyone is a seasoned player. So I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. So his ability on the front side is when you play a unit, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit, right? That costs the same as the played unit. So that means that if you're playing on curve, and on curve is like you're playing the exact amount of resources for the exact amount of, paying the exact amount of resources for that unit for that turn, right? You play 2 resources, someone plays 2, you do 1 damage to them, and you exhaust the Quinlan loss. Same thing happens for 3 resources. They play a 3, you play a 3, you exhaust Quinlan, you do 1 damage to them. So one of the beauties of this deck, one of the great parts about Quinlan Voss is that you have the opportunity to do really good value trades because, especially on curve, because even if you are down in power, you would have done damage to them in order to punch up a little bit, right? And on the flip side is that it's whatever the cost is, any unit underneath that. So like if you play a Plo Koon at 5, any unit on the opponent's side that plays it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can do 1 ping damage to them. So huge at the flip turn. He flips at 5. He comes out as a 3/7. Pretty good stats. I tested. I wanted to try if I could use the Patora base, the one that gives a +1 attack for but 26 health. Found that was not worth it to do that. So I'm sticking with 30 health base here. Anyway, if the theme of Quinlan Voss is to ping damage, that means you're going to trade up, right? And I think that's a great thing for this deck, and kind of playing around that. Also trying to address some of the weaknesses of this deck, which I'll talk about soon. So standard, you're gonna have that hotshot you're gonna get that hotshot blaster in there. You're pretty much gonna resource it every time because you want to be able to smuggle it out and get 2 damage, immediately of value, right? I think that's you kind of want to have that. For the snapshot reflexes, which is the other 1 cost card here, I've been playing around with this. I'm not necessarily in love with it, but if you think about why I put it in this deck, right? There are probably decks out there that are going to have higher value trades, or higher value targets that you need to be able to punch up to, uh, and the snapshot reflexes, what it could potentially do is give you that extra little bit of health to avoid a Tarkentown takedown, for example. It allows you to punch up even further if it's a big body, right? So let's say you're playing a two, the L337 2/2. You pinged damage to the Yoda in the next turn. You can play snapshot reflexes with it, and take it out, and you'll be fine in return. Great trade. And you get to attack automatically. Is it a little clunky? Yes, but I find that I do like having the option, and if not, I'll just resource it. That's okay. Crafty Smuggler, three of them. This is here strictly because of the shield. Also, you need some two drops. You'll notice in this deck actually it kind of ignores space, and I do that intentionally because I want to protect Quinlan Voss as much as possible from like blue villainy decks. Right, I don't want to have the instant removal right away. I want to have options on the board, so I'm just going to flood the ground arena with ground units, um, to the detriment of space. So Crafty Smuggler with the shield comes out at two, avoids ping damage. I think that's huge. Asteroid Sanctuary. Is another two drop here, and you're going to see that in Sneak Attack. Not necessarily the most common things to have, but I think they're very necessary for this deck because other decks can do it faster. And by do it, I mean like aggro and like pump damage into your base or another unit. What Asteroid Sanctuary does, it makes your lower cost units, gives you a shield to be able to again avoid a Django exhaust from a ping, uh, to uh, to be able to trade up in value if needed. I think that's huge. So you kind of gives your reshielding, and you get to exhaust the unit on the other side. So for example, if they're an aggro or if there's something with an on attack ability, you stop that for the round. I think one of the things that's really one of the big strategies for this deck that I've found is that you don't have access to No Good to Be Dead. I mean, you could, but it's going to cost too much. It's not worth it, right? So, how can you get that type of potentially that kind of value, with the heroism side and only? And so, I think extra Asteroid Sanctuary is a really good answer for that. Sneak Attack, for me, I have found Sneak Attack to be very useful because, again, if you're trying to trade up, because people have ramp, for example, Quinlan Voss ECL is going to General's Blade and cheat in a bigger unit. You need to be able to take it down. And does it suck that you're kind of playing a 2-for-1 card essentially? So like Sneak Attack into like a Plo Koon, for example, to get off that ambush with the raid 3. Does that hurt? Yeah, but if you think about the long term, it's you need to get sometimes you just need to get rid of that big unit. If that means if it means that you could take out a Snoke and then play another unit right after that, great. I mean, I would do that every single time. L337, not, a smuggle, but also, again, it comes in with a shield, which I think is great, especially if you combo it with snapshot reflexes, because then it becomes a 3/3 the next turn. So you could potentially have a crafty smuggler with a shield, L33, 37 with a shield, snapshot reflexes, right? See, there's a lot of interesting early combos in order to just get to that kind of mid-ish game. Surprise Strike, three of them. I mean, you need to have it. I talk about this in other decks, not this specifically, but like there are some cards that are just like vegetables. You just need to have them, even if you don't want them. Sometimes, snap, surprise strike. Um, if the meta turns into a very sentinel heavy or shield heavy kind of place, I guess I would probably replace this with breaking in to get the +2 but and saboteur. Right, that's one of those cards I think you could flex in, but for now, Surprise Strike is sufficient. R2D2 against a two drop. It allows you to get It gives you access to cards that you might need to reach for, especially early. Like if you mulliganed once and you get an R2D2, but you have no other like turn two play, you need to play the R2, right? So I think that's important. Millennium Falcon, okay, light on space, but Millennium Falcon, to me is a no-brainer just to have. It can trade really well. It comes in ready for that extra punch. You could then surprise strike on 5, right? If you're lucky, I think it's great. Bodhi Rook, I have two in here and one in the sideboard. Um, you know, I play it. I'm debating whether or not to put three in here, but I like at least two because you want the three drop, right? You want more three drops. Liberated Slaves is good, but it's just a big body. 3/5 can outrun a Tarkin Town. But for Bodhi Rook, people are gonna if people are playing you and they realize you're an aggro deck, which they should, right? Bodhi Rook, what that does is it eliminates threats to your aggro ability. So, for example, you can get rid of Metal Ceremony. You can get rid of Force Choke, Force Throw, right? You can get rid of their Cunning. potentially. These are cards that will really, really hurt you in the game, and so I think it's important to have Bodhi Rooks immediately because we're not main boarding Spark of Rebellions. Okay, so I think you should have that option. Spark of Rebellions is good, but like I would rather do the damage and get a unit on the board than just remove a card with this deck specifically. Waylay again, if you are going aggro, you don't want them to wipe your units, and also if they have a big unit on board, take it out. Waylay I think is an important card to have in a double yellow deck in any form or fashion. Cunning, no explanation. Well, really, but I'll go into it just a little bit. I actually find myself not necessarily pumping with cunning. I mean, I will if the opportunity arises, but the exhaust and returning a unit to me is something that I actually use a lot more because I find myself trying to control the deck, control the arena as much as possible. This is also very important when because this is a very space light deck, you want to be able to do something about the space units. And so, what does that mean? Cunning. Exhaust two, return one. That's huge. That's 3 units off the board. And ideally, if they're in space and you're on ground and you got rid of all their space units, you get to have free roam, right? Gamorrean guards. I think it's important to have some type of sentinel. It's one of my, I made an Obi-Wan deck built around the concept of sentinels, right? So Gamorrean guard is really good here. Sometimes if I'm being cheeky, I might sneak attack in the Gamorrean guard to take out a 4 health unit. And not waste like a shield on like L337, for example. I've done it. It's helped. It's a fun combo to do. But I think always, having some type of ability to stop a unit on the other side with Sentinel is good. Kira is at the 4 drop. Again, if you're playing on curve, you can do some damage, but this is what more important here with Kira is that uh, you need to play her to wipe the opportunity or stop the opponent from having opportunity to play cards that will destroy your board. So your board state. So what does that mean? You play Kira at 4. You know what comes out at 5? Overwhelming Barrage. Or if they're trying to ramp, the resupply. An opponent's own waylay, I guess. There's a lot of things that you would want to have Kira to do, want Kira in the game to stop from playing, right? And so I think she's very important to have as a unit. Um, and so with Gamorrean Guard Kira, you could probably switch between the two depending on your playstyle. Cantina Bouncer, again, just like Waylay, and the purpose of like how I use Cunning, removing units off the board so that they don't attack you, and also to stop other abilities. So, for example, um, Chancellor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, their ability requires a unit to a heroism unit to be defeated, but also a villainy card to be played. If you are constantly waylaying or exhausting their heroism units, then Chancellor Palpatine will never be able to flip, and they'll never be able to play the villainy cards that they have in hand, which is fantastic for you. Cantina Bouncer, is it have great stats? Yeah, it's pretty good, 3-5. But really, that ability is just really strong. To have that waylay kind of built in. Plo Koon, if you can get the ambush off, that's all. Well, get the ambush off, which is really great. Ideally, you want to get the raid with coordinate, so you can take out a big unit. Solid. Millennium Falcon, just not necessarily having no space unit, but then you can put this in the smuggle row if you need an ambush at 6, right? When I don't know, like a Ruthless Raider starts coming out, right? And you need to stop something in space. You could play the Millennium Falcon. And then I have 3 Han Solos here. Han Solo is fantastic at 7, 6/6. You could take out most units, and also you could ping them down. For example, so like a Luke, you could play Han Solo, and then ambush in, and then take out the Luke, which is great to do. In the sideboard, you'll see answers to cards that are answers to a variety of opponent decks that you might have problems with. So Amphiss Nest, for example, maybe replace it with the other 7-drop Han Solo or even Millennium Falcons if you so desire. The ability there is like if you need to punch through Sentinel, for example, or Shield, you have Saboteur. She's 5/7, but also her ability is that you get to on her attack, you get to or when played on attack, you can return a unit to someone's hand. Fantastic. So you have options to return people to hand at 3, 4, 5, and 7. If you're talking about, cleaning a board, that's great. You could do this to make sure your ground arena is fantastic. It's like solid. You could use it to remove a space unit that was just played. I think Emphasis Nest has a lot of applications here. And it's up to your play style and what you want to do and how you want to play her. I have an extra Bodhi Rook here. Also, if I see that there's just a lot of events in my opponent's deck, so or any non units, I'll play that. Clear the field. So if there's clone heavy, for example, token heavy, if they play just a lot of the same named cards, we could remove that. That's fantastic. Spark of the Rebellion. This is for mostly against control decks. To rip their hand so that they don't have the play that they need to play. I don't know how to better phrase that, but Spark of Rebellion is there to come in mostly against control, and then Bamboozle is there against units that or any decks that have a lot of upgrade cards, right? So if they put like Luke's like not Luke's Jedi lightsaber on Yoda's, for example, you could play Bamboozle, and you'll be able to come out with a positive board state. And that's it for the tech deck. I hope you enjoyed this review. Give it a try on Carabas. See how you feel. Let me know in the comments if if there's any improvements you think should be made to the deck. I think that it's relatively solid. A lot of the play lines are similar to something like Han Yellow or maybe Asajj, but obviously the other side, the other half. Um, you want to get into base as much as possible. Positive trades where you can. Make sure the board is clean, so that you can optimize your damage output. Use cunning when you know that you're going to get good value there, and don't be afraid to face check bigger units. You kind of need to do that. Waylay and remove units from the game as much as possible. If you have any questions, like play lines, for example, let me know in the comments as well. I am more than happy to do that, to answer any questions, comments, or concerns. Um, Finally, actually, I have a little bit of news. If you've stuck around for the entirety of this video, I actually started a website. It's called PadawanUnlimited.com. And on this website, I'm going to have links to not only this YouTube channel for anyone who's new, but also the podcast. And I'm also going to be selling a variety of products. So mostly singles for now. I have a pretty good collection, and I'm willing to part with some of these cards. It's specifically at a relatively deep discount. So if you want to kind of avoid TCG player, and try to see if there's maybe there's a legendary that might have uh hyperspaces, foils, whatever. Please feel free to check it out. All whatever money I do make on this is really going to be really reinvested in the podcast, the YouTube channel, etc., to provide you with better comic content. I debated whether or not to start a Patreon and such, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to charge to have a Discord or access to my thoughts, minds, or materials. I'm just gonna give it to you for free. So if you so desire to support this channel, let me know. I've also reached out to some distributors to see if I can get some product like booster packs, boxes, etc. Maybe even some Star Wars games, right? If you are interested just in the IP in general, look forward to that. But I'll keep you guys updated. And I think that's it for now. Until then, I hope you all do really well. Have a great rest of your week, and may the force be with you.